Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Smash that subscribe button. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
You can find us Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and check us out on Reddit. Join us on the conversation there. And don't forget, leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
We are going into CFL Week 4. We are going to look at the Bombers against the Alouettes, match them up position by position. We're going to look at the critical questions for each team going into Week 4. And of course, we're going to do our quick and dirty predictions. And we might talk a little bit of Jets because there's a little trade and a Jill draft tonight. So hang on. Let's start with the Winnipeg Jets against the Alouettes. Canada Day, looking how they stack up by position. So let's start at quarterback. Who do you got in that matchup?
I just got to say, you just said the Jets are playing the Alouettes. So just.
Oh, see?
We get it. We knew what you meant, though.
Yeah. People are smart.
Yes, they are. They are.
Let's go.
I'm going to take Zach Collaros again in this one. Again, minus last week, still having a better season. Cody Fajardo has played well. I'll give him credit on that, but it's been also against Ottawa and Hamilton, and those Ds have not been the best so far. So we'll see how he stacks up. I know the Bombers D has not been strong either. So I expect, if Cody Fajardo keeps playing the way he is, I expect a good game at him, but I will take Zach Collaros in this, who has put up some great numbers besides last week.
Oh, yeah. And last week cannot be put on his shoulders at all.
Yeah.
At all. Paul LaPolice could just slow down with Montreal as the best and most impressive defense. Like you said, they face Ottawa without Mazzoli, and they face Hamilton with Schlitz. So I'm going to take Collaros in this one. Yeah, he says it's Zach Collaros running MOP. Running back, Oliveira is on the injury report, so I don't know where he's at health-wise. And Standback is Standback. And Montreal is also very good against the run. I think they're letting teams like less than 50 yards. And that's what they call stout. Like it's a stout run D. Not that the Bombers aren't. They're only letting 69, but anyways, I'm going to take Standback in that matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to agree and take William Standback just because Oliveira is not healthy. He hasn't practiced so far this week. So I'll give the edge to Standback, even though Standback has not really done a lot so far this year in that offense either. We thought maybe he would shoulder more of the load as well there. But yeah, I'm going to go with Standback, and hopefully Oliveira can play.
What do you got for receivers?
I got to go with the Winnipeg receiver group, even without Kenny Lawler, I guess, for another week here. Still a solid group. I expect a pretty good bounce back from the Bombers this week. All around, that offense wasn't good. Some receivers missing, plays, Dembski with the bobbled pass kind of thing. I expect more out of this group. And, even though Austin Mack for Montreal has played well and has looked good so far early this season, the rest of the receivers to me on Montreal don't stack up to the Bombers. So I'll take the Bombers receivers in this one.
Yeah, I'll have to say, other than BC, pretty much all year long until something crazy happens, BC might be the only fully healthy receiving core that I'll take over the Bombers in a matchup. It's just the depth is there and the talent is there. So I'm going to go with you with the Bombers. And that's not because I'm a homer. I'm like, if you look at each receiver and match them up across the CFL, the Bombers just have the most depth. And a lot of them are very skilled and can be number one receivers on a lot of teams. So it's just facts. Sorry. O-line. Montreal's allowed 10 sacks comparable to Winnipeg's 9, but Winnipeg got 7 in one game.
Yeah.
So Winnipeg's going to get the nod to me just because they got a more consistent running game, kind of. So Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'm going to take Winnipeg as well. Even though you mentioned the sacks, let's see who they played again, right? You got to factor that in right now. Montreal could come in and beat Winnipeg. They could blow them out. Who knows, right? But until that happens, right now I'm favoring Winnipeg on most of this stuff. And on O-line, you gave up 10 sacks. You only played Ottawa, which actually has a good D-line, and Hamilton, which has a good D-line. But all around, their defenses have not played well. So I will still give the nod to Winnipeg on this one until I see otherwise.
Winnipeg's also averaging about 40 more yards rushing this year.
Yeah, and it was one game where you gave up
the offensive line.
Yeah, one game where you gave up 7 sacks, right? Maybe BC's D is really that good and they're going to be dominant all season, or they just had a wicked day, right? So,
how about for D-line? Who waits that matchup?
I'm going to give that one to Montreal, even with Jeff Coat possibly coming back here. I mean, he's been practicing 2 days now in a row, so that looks good. But until I see him out there and see that he's healthy and can play a full game and help Willie Jefferson out, and not that Selson Hab has been bad, but he's still a rookie, so he'll have some good plays and he'll have some rough plays. So I'm going to go with Montreal. They seem to have a little bit more, and they've gotten some pressure on the QBs.
How many sacks does Montreal have?
Oh, you know what? I cannot say
3.
that for sure. Oh,
They have 3 sacks all year. Bombers have gotten 4 in one game. I'm going to take the Bomber D-line. For some reason, Montreal let Mike Moore go, their leading sack getter from last year. And he's pissed about it because they let him go before they owed him a bonus. And he couldn't get good free agent money because they let him go like the day before it happened. So anyways, they deserve what's happening to them. So I'm taking the Bomber D-line. And of course, Montreal's O-line has allowed 10 sacks. So that's not good. I could be wrong on the 3 sacks, but I never can trust the CFL stats at this point.
That's the frustrating thing of trying to figure all this stuff out. You try to look back on stuff and you can't find it.
No, and I got to do math.
Yeah.
Come on. Linebackers, who do you got in that matchup?
I'm going to give this one to the Bombers. Again, you got Adam Bighill. I mean, he's the man at linebacker for me still so far. And then you got Malik Clemens, who has looked good so far this season and has chipped in a couple sacks here and there, and it's made it tough on the QB. So I will give them the edge over Montreal.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned. Hopefully it's a maintenance day, but Adam Bighill was also on the injury report. I believe he did not participate for the second day in a row in practice. That could be an issue. I'm going to go with Montreal on this one. They've been giving some real good run support. Again, very good against the run. Not too many good teams, but the question for me is at the dime position. I know dime is kind of like an extra DB, but they're playing on where the linebacker would be. And the Bombers have the Red Hot Cramdry taking snaps right now at the dime. So there's an issue there. So there's a shakeup that could be happening. And I'm a fan of Avery Williams on Montreal. He's a great athlete. He can drop into coverage very good with like the best linebackers in the league. So I'm going to take Montreal with a slight advantage this week.
Yeah, Bighill's not practice have been not injury related, it said, but he has not practiced so far this week. So
hope's all good.
So we'll see.
Good. Secondary. It's great to see primetime North back, Demario Houston, jacked about that. I don't know what's going on with Lawrence and Soiree, but like I said last episode, I really like Evan Holm. I really put some praise on him. And of course, Brandon Alexander is still one of the best safeties in the league. So I'm going to take the Bombers on this one.
I'm going to go with Montreal just because they've played a little bit better, and more so because of Bombers and the injuries that are happening back there. They're a bit in flux kind of thing. And, Rose and Parker are still out. Demario Houston looks like he's back. Desmond Lawrence is hurt. And it looks like another start is coming up for Soiree. For me, Montreal, Cheonte Evans has looked good so far, leading the way with 3 interceptions so far this season. So they're looking good on the back end. Again, you got to kind of be aware of who they played.
That's very true. No Mazzoli.
I don't want to keep saying that, but
it's true.
It's there right now. Like I said, if they go ahead and beat the Bombers, then we'll talk differently about them next week.
We'll wait for that next week. Special teams. Judy got who wins that matchup there for you?
This to me could almost, I know we don't like this, but it could be a push on this one. I'd probably take Castillo over Cote, I guess. But they're pretty close, but Castillo is more the veteran. Worthy versus Grant. Both have looked pretty good so far this year. Toss up to me. Punter, Sheehan, I would take the Bombers on that because he's just been booming it.
Castillo wins the kicking battle. Zema from Montreal wins the punting battle. Statistically, he's playing better. And Janarian Grant definitely wins the returning battle. So I'm going to take Winnipeg winning 2 out of 3 on there. Bomber fans and also Alouette fans, join in on the conversation. Put your comments below. Let's look at some critical questions. That's always hard to say. Critical questions for each team heading into week 4. Let's start with the West. And I got the BC Lions. Can BC stop that 3-headed running back monster? Toronto is averaging 152 yards a game, and their leading rusher is 5th in the league. So they're getting it from across. They got another Canadian, Ado Yele. It's totally wrong. I'm so sorry. I'll get it right next week. And Andrew Harris, and of course, Willette. 3-headed monster putting up 152. Brady over there is putting 5.2 up against BC. So they're not very good against the run, to be honest with you. So if they can get that going, BC might be in trouble.
Yeah, I think Toronto is going to have to probably stick with that a little bit, whereas Winnipeg didn't really, right? Once they got down, they kind of went away from it, even though Oliveira was playing well.
Yeah.
It'll be a good test for both. BC's D has played well, and Toronto's running game has been fantastic. And they'll need that running game to give Chad Kelly a chance here because he's been decent and good at times, but still struggling at other times. For me, Ottawa. Oof. I don't like what's going on in Ottawa. Less and less every week, but can they finally win one at home? At Edmonton now coming in, and Eugene Lewis is out. So I mean, this is Ottawa's chance to finally get that win. I know they're starting a rookie QB in Tyree Adams, but I think they're actually going to get the job done this week.
Yeah, I'm excited actually to see him at quarterback. I'm cheering for Bobby Dice. I'm cheering for him.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Kahari Jones, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I got love for Kahari. Let's talk about Edmonton. I think also not Jonathan Hefty. Don't they have a former Bomber as their DB coach as well?
Ottawa?
Yeah. Alex Suber.
Yeah. Oh, really? Is he the DB coach? Oh, yeah.
It might be Alex Suber.
Yeah, sounds right.
Fans, check on that. We'll check on that one day. Edmonton. Who starts at QB and how long is that leash? Last week the leash could be one snap. And we've seen the quarterback before that, multiple games that he lost. So who knows what Chris Jones is doing? Dogie, give him a shot. Like, don't take him out right away. Man, that's who's the QB? How long will they be in there for? That's Edmonton's question.
Yeah, I feel Dogie seems like he's getting the start, so we'll see. But yeah, he's a rookie. You got to give him time. You can't just yank him after a quarter or two. To me right now, unless Edmonton turns around quickly, they're probably on the outside looking in for the playoffs anyway. So you might as well develop this guy and see what he can do.
And I could probably tell you what Taylor Cornelius's win-loss record if there were stats available, but there isn't. So.
Montreal, are they for real? They're 2-0, but they've only played Ottawa and Hamilton. I think we've mentioned that a few times so far in this episode. So big test with the Bombers coming up. Has Cody Fajardo got back to where he was 2 years ago in Saskatchewan, 3 years ago in Saskatchewan? Mm-hmm. And they're getting it done right now with receivers. Not a lot of well-known receivers there. They lost Eugene Lewis, so we'll see. Are they for real?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game to prove that. But if they do win, then they are for real. And for sure, at the East at this point, they're for real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're finishing second at least, right?
That away. There you go. Calgary. Will the real Jake Meyer please stand up? That guy is like been as mercurial as you can be, highest of the highs, lowest of the lows. They have a bye week. It's their chance to figure it out. Best way to use his skill because they got the Bombers and they got the Rough Riders next. So they got to figure it out. 2 huge divisional matchups against 2 teams that are better than them. So after this week, you can cement either his place as a starting QB or not a starting QB in the CFL.
Yeah, the bye week comes at a good time for them, actually, like you say, having to face the Bombers next week and then Saskatchewan after that. So be good learning time for them. Toronto, will they move to 3-0? Again, another team that has not had a tough start. Edmonton and Hamilton, right? Then you're playing BC, who's coming off a huge road win in Winnipeg. Yeah. Maybe BC comes in a little bit too overhyped, but I think it'll be a good test to see where both these teams are, especially Toronto, just because they've played lesser opponents so far. So we'll see.
Yeah, they look so good, but at the same time, you're like, if Chad Kelly gets better and continues getting, they're going to be really good. For sure.
Oh,
yeah. They what's his name wasn't playing. Gittins.
Yeah,
really Gittins wasn't playing last game. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Another team on a bye, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Will the Riders get healthy during the bye week? This team is a team that's pretty banged up. They have that crazy receiving core. Wenke got kind of banged up last game. So does MLS. Shaver Baker's long term. Darrell Walker's long term. And they got a couple injuries on the defensive side of the football too. So will they get healthy during the bye week? That's my question.
Yeah, good start so far for Saskatchewan this season. But again, they started off 4-1 last year and then imploded after that. So it'll be an interesting season for them for sure. Hamilton, is Orlando Steinauer on the hot seat? To me, yes, he is. He needs to turn it around probably in the next couple of weeks, or there's probably going to be changes in Hamilton, especially with the high expectations that they had this year and the fact that the Grey Cup is in Hamilton. And many were expecting them, and probably themselves included, to be in that game. So
Yeah.
Steinauer, to me, he's got to get it turned around in this bye week, or he could be, getting the yank.
Like I never like to see anyone lose their job. I said that many times, but I'm a little curious to see what happens if maybe Steinhauer doesn't work mid-season Labor Day and maybe Jeff Reinbold gets a shot at being a head coach
Oh,
again. I
jeez. Yeah.
don't know. I feel he deserves a better shot. He got a really raw deal. He's like, he was young, but he didn't really have the support and management. It's just
It was a
that's
messy
another
time in
story. That's
Bomberland.
that's a beginning of a messy time.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bomberland, will they be healthy enough for Montreal? We see a lot of these names on the injury lists, people sitting out of practice. This is a veteran team. So, I thought it'd be cliche to say, hey, can they bounce back? Of course they can bounce back. The character's there. We've seen it. But just physically, Jeff Coates back. Good. Oliveira beaten up. Dalton Schoen beaten up. Still did practice. So we'll see, I guess. But I hope they are healthy enough for Montreal because they'll have to be.
Yeah, like you say, a lot of those guys did end up practicing. Shown Cam Lawson too, Demerio Houston, which his wasn't injury related last week, anyways. But
Yeah.
yeah, they got to get these guys, and not able, like, are they fully healthy? You don't want these guys at only 70%, right? We don't want to see Jeff go get hurt again and now have to sit out 6 more games. So hopefully he's healthy enough that he can make an impact in this game and the next game and the next game.
Right on. Let's move on to predictions. Week 4, only 3 games on the docket. I don't really know what a docket is.
I don't know.
I just use that word. We'll Google it. But let's start off with the Elks and the Red Blacks battle of the basement in the CFL. No good cooking at home for either of these teams. So that's why I'll go Elks. Masoli is no go. It's a road game for Edmonton, so that's better. And the Red Blacks aren't good at home. So Elks.
I mean, Edmonton's D is probably a little bit better than Ottawa's. It'll be Jared Doge. What is it? Doge? Am I saying that right? Doge against Tyree Adams. So, that's a toss up there. It's kind of, this is going to be kind of a coin toss to me. But with Eugene Lewis being out, I'm going to favor Ottawa to get the job done at home and finally win one at home.
Names are hard.
Yeah, they are.
Let's look at the Bombers and the Alouettes. We talked about that matchup a lot when we went position by position, but who's going to win that matchup?
I'm going to go with the Bombers bouncing back. I feel like this will be a close game. Montreal played the Bombers very well last year, had very hard, obviously beating them once in Winnipeg. Defense so far for Montreal has not allowed an offensive touchdown. Again, that could be based on opponent, so we'll see. Zach Collaros has also never lost 2 games as a Bomber back-to-back regular season games. So I'm going to take the Bombers in this one, and probably going to be a close matchup.
I'll go Bombers win on Canada Day. They got embarrassed. The O-line will be pissed and will protect Collaros at all costs. Jeff Goat's back. Like you said, Demario Houston's back. Bombers are going to win. Lions and Argos. Oh, I think this will be a grinder. If like I mentioned earlier with that 3-headed running game, if the Argos can get that going, BC will get in trouble because they can pound on that D-line, which will give Chad Kelly a little more time, and he won't be asked to do anything special or extra, especially against BC. Just protect the ball and take what they give you. We'll get to see his maturity level. So I'll take the Argos at home to win. It's at home, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Argos to win.
Yeah, and that's my only concern is BC traveling again. I know they've had a lot of time off, traveling farther east again to go play Toronto now. I'm going to take BC just because, they've played so well so far this season. And their D has only given up 211 yards per game so far, while their offense is almost close to 400 yards per game. Keon Hatcher and Dominic Rhymes may be back. So that's a huge boost for that Ottawa offense. Do they really need more of a boost? But leading the league in sacks at 11 sacks. And Matthew Betts, we talked about him last week, how of a factor he can be, and he's been looking good so far this year. And I know Toronto's offense is good. Toronto's offense has also put up 400 yards of net offense. So it'll be a good battle here, whereas Toronto's probably more on the running game when BC's more through the air. But we'll see. AJ Ouellette's going to have a wicked game.
Well, all 3 of the running backs.
Yeah.
Friends, put your predictions in the comment section below, or your comments or disagreements. Just be nice. Hot topics. Let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets. Jets draft Colby Barlow, number 18 in the first round. Yeah, that kid can shoot, he can score, and the kid can lead. It's good to see Cheveldayoff pick not only a talented player, but a high character guy. This guy's a Scholastic Player of the Year. He's also the youngest captain in Owen Sound history. So that says something about character. And he's projected by Jason Bukala to be a top 6 scoring forward. So that's very promising. Will he be there next year? I don't know. Probably not. You know how the NHL draft works sometimes. But yeah, good pick. I like the character.
Yeah, Jets do love their character guys, and I think that definitely helps them decide who they're probably going to take between two guys, right? Usually when they get it, and a lot of these guys, I forget the list, but Morrissey, Perfetti, all these guys are on a list, same kind of list as Brown, Colby Barlow here as being high character guys, and Winnipeg love that. To me, I mean, you looked at him. It was funny when he got up in the draft. He looked like the oldest guy there compared to some of these guys who still look like, they're 12, 13. Like
Yeah.
he looked older than 18. So he's probably a few years away, a couple years away, but looks like a good pick so far for Winnipeg. And they had a great choice.
Probably get to see him in the World Juniors next year.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't think he was in there last year, right? So
He's
it'd be
under
nice to see
18s.
him as an 18-year-old make it there. So
Yeah, he plays all over the ice and plays in all situations, including the PK. So pretty good. Is Mark Scheifele a high character draft pick?
he must have been. I mean, Howard Chuck would have praised him right back then, and he probably was. And just things just for Shifley didn't end up working out. Like he's still a good player, right?
Yeah.
But things fell by the wayside, and who knows what happens in that locker room that just changed him.
Oh, I think we know what happened in the locker room. I think he came into a locker room that was heavily old school, and that includes Dustin Bufflin. Don't get me wrong, a guy who throws people's clothes in the shower, that's still old school bullying. Funny or not, I don't think it's very funny at this point. But like that's what Shifley grew up in. So
Oh
maybe
yeah.
without them, he is a high character guy. That's why I wish they keep him. I hope that happens. Any which way. PLD trade. Talk about guys they trade. Sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is the Jets need centers, right?
Yeah.
Like even you're relying on maybe Cole Perfetti taking a center spot, and we'll talk about this trade. There's some guys there that could possibly play center, but you still don't have. It's funny because they went from having Shifley, Dubois, you're like and Lowry. You have like 3 good centers, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Now you're down to just basically Lowry, depending on what happens with Shifley. So the thing is, at this point, can Shifley even change back, right? Or is he
Change
just
back what?
too far, like to a high character guy, or is he
Why
too
not?
far gone? He's in this old way or this different way of thinking now. Can he revert back to it? And does Winnipeg give him enough time to, or the fans even?
Well, I think the issue a lot with Maurice was that he never called it out. I think this time in the playoffs, it was called out and made public. And with all these pieces being moved and Wheeler possibly being bought out soon, that's the clearest sign this dude can get.
Yeah.
This is the clear sign to either, this is, if you want to be here, buy in. If not, play it out and then you're gone. I really hope they don't trade him. PLD trade, your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's a good move. The Jets got some good pieces, which is quite a bit more pieces than we thought they could get for PLD, who was supposed to go to Montreal and all that. But the trade for Gabriel Villardi, Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kupari, that's it.
Yeah.
And 2024 second rounder, which is Montreal's, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I think it's a good deal. Chevy got as much as he could and got some good players. To me, this Villardi, like I don't know a lot about these guys. I know about Iafallo, but Villardi didn't know too much about him until the trade, and he's not too far off of Dubois, and he's faced some injury troubles, so he hasn't fully gotten rolling yet. So I think he could be a very good fit. And so far in his press conference, he sounded like he was excited to come to Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'm excited to see these additions. Depth wise, I think it'd be great for the team because we saw the depth in Vegas. We saw the depth in Seattle. It wasn't about prime time names. It was depth all the way through lines 1 through 4. And I think that's possibly a team that they can build now.
Yeah.
Especially with these 3 players coming in. So I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but I think he got more than what he could.
Yeah. Plus, like you say, these guys all played in the NHL last year, right?
Yeah.
And Villardi and Iafallo especially, they'll be full-time players. And Kupari, who knows? Maybe he can be that 4th line guy to kind of get in there and play a center role there. But he played some games last year, so we'll see what he can do, and he'll develop. So I'm excited to see what they can do.
And they played him. Go ahead.
I'm glad Chevy got what he got out of this deal, right? When
Yeah.
you saw some of the moves that were the trades that were bandied about, especially from Montreal fans, you're like, "Ooh, we're gonna get killed on this one." But it's a good move. I'll give
Yeah,
Chevy.
yeah.
I'll give Chevy credit on this one.
I give Chevy a lot of credit on almost all the trades. That
Yeah,
he's
his
done.
trades. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Holy cow! Well, you don't like his draft picks, eh?
No, and his drafts. His draft picks are more his scouts probably than anything. But it's his waiver wire guys that kind of drive me crazy that he picks up and they end up in the lineup somehow. So
His scouts more than anything.
not enough depth.
That's
I'm giving credits to the scouts, man.
that's a good one. Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. And have a good week.
And in the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, that's it. Another edition of, I was about to say Stampede Wrestling. Ray
Whoa,
and Benny
wow.
talk sports. Have a good Canada Day. Go Bombers, go. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.